If you work in Nigeria, whether in an office, a school, hospital, bank, you name it, then this message is for you. 1958, Nigeria was still under British colonial rule. So, the Factories Act was designed for that world. For factory workers in 1958, it did offer some degree of protection.
But it is now 2026, and we are still using a law that was last reviewed in 2004.
Hi, if you work in Nigeria, whether in an office, a school, hospital, bank, you name it, then this message is for you, because there is no single law that legally protects your health and safety at work.
However, what we do have is the Factories Act LFN 2004.
And before you say, well, at least there's something, let me tell you what the law was written for. 1958, Nigeria was still under British colonial rule. The economy ran on manufacturing, mining, and production. So, the Factories Act was designed for that world, for workers operating heavy machinery, working with industrial equipment, standing on production lines. So, to be fair, for its time, it covered some important ground. It set out requirements for safe machinery guarding, for ventilation in factory buildings, limits on working hours, basic first aid provision, and a duty to report certain workplace accidents. For factory workers in 1958, it did offer some degree of protection.
But it is now 2026, and we are still using a law that was last reviewed in 2004.
So, here is where it gets personal, because the Factories Act only covers registered factories, which means it does not cover the 35 million Nigerians working in agriculture, our single largest employment sector, the millions working in offices, banks, schools, universities, even hospitals, domestic workers, that's the nannies, the cooks, the cleaners, working in private homes, or should we say construction workers, one of the most dangerous industries in the world. Or do we consider petty traders, market sellers, transport workers, artisans, and the vast informal economy? Or is it the GIG workers and anyone in the fast-growing digital and service sector? That is not a minority group. That is the majority of Nigeria's working population, left outside protection of any meaningful safety law. Data tells us, if you look at the International Labour Organization, it estimates that over 2.3 million people die from work-related causes globally, and that's every year. Of those, vast majority are in developing economies, in regions where regulatory frameworks are weak, outdated, or simply absent. Africa carries a disproportionate share of that burden. The ILO estimates that Africa accounts for a higher rate of fatal occupational injuries per 100,000 workers than almost any other region in the world. And a significant driver of those numbers is not lack of safety awareness. It's not lack of any other thing, but the lack of the law. When there is no legal obligation to protect workers, too many employers simply do not. And because Nigeria has no mandatory national reporting framework for workplace injuries, we do not even know the full scale of the problem here at home. The data we do not collect is a problem in itself. So, where do we all fit in this problem? You might be watching this from a comfortable office thinking, well, this does not apply to me. But I want to challenge you to ask yourself, does your employer have a written health and safety policy? Are there emergency procedures posted in your building? Has anyone ever told you what to do if there is a fire or a chemical spill or a colleague who even collapses? In many Nigerian workplaces, by virtue of my position, the honest answer to all three is maybe not. And not because employers are all negligent, but because the law does not require it from them. A national OSH Act would change that. It would set a baseline, a legal floor below which no employer can fall. It would create accountability, it would generate data, and it would send a clear signal that Nigeria, every worker's life has a value. The Factories Act of 1958,
albeit last reviewed in 2004,
was written for a different Nigeria. It is time we rewrote it for the right Nigeria.